What if the heaviness you've been carrying wasn't a burden at all, but a signal? What if the nights when you feel restless, uncertain, or quietly fractured are not proof that you're falling apart, but the unmistakable whisper that you're beginning to shift? Pause for a moment. Feel into that, because maybe what you've been calling confusion is actually the doorway into clarity. Maybe the ache in your chest is not emptiness, but expansion. And maybe the reason reality feels so strange, so unstable, so foreign right now, is because reality itself is reshaping through you, with you, and as you. What if you're not just the one observing the changes in your life? What if you are the very field of energy that is observing you back, adjusting, responding, bending, in resonance with your awareness? Breathe that in. You see, the human mind is trained to panic when patterns break, when the ground beneath us trembles, when the future refuses to form in straight lines. We rush to label it wrong, off, or broken. But what if the trembling is not collapse, it's calibration? What if the dissonance you feel is simply your system tuning itself to a frequency that the old version of you couldn't yet perceive? Look at your life right now. The relationships that once fit like skin but suddenly feel like costumes. The goals that once ignited you but now feel flat, like ash. The constant push to be productive, to figure it out, that suddenly leaves you exhausted rather than fulfilled. All of this, what if none of it is failure? What if it's the unmistakable evidence that you are already stepping into a different dimension of being? Feel into that possibility. Imagine you are standing at the edge of a vast horizon, the air electric with unseen potential. Every thought, every doubt, every flicker of hope is shaping the very field that holds you. The field is alive. It's aware, and it's waiting for you to recognize yourself not just as a spectator, but as its pulse, its rhythm, its consciousness. You are not drifting. You are not dissolving. You are entering a new atmosphere. And in this atmosphere, everything feels different because it is different. The rules are bending. The colors are shifting. The story you thought you were living has begun to write itself from the inside out. So let me ask you again. What if your unease is not a sign that something is wrong, but a sign that everything is beginning to align? Stay with me, because in the next breath, we're going to name this place you found yourself in. And when you name it, you'll see that what felt like chaos is actually initiation. What you are moving through has a name. I call it the in-between. Others have called it the void, the threshold, the energetic liminal. It's that strange space where the old has already dissolved, but the new hasn't fully crystallized. It's the twilight between chapters, where your identity is dissolving like ink in water, and yet the page ahead remains unwritten. You feel it, don't you? The sensation of standing with one foot in a world that no longer fits, and the other foot suspended in midair, reaching for ground that has not yet formed. This is not a mistake. This is the natural terrain of transformation. The in-between is not comfortable, but it is profoundly sacred. It's where you learn to let go of your addiction to certainty. It's where you learn that safety doesn't come from clinging to the familiar, but from breathing into the unknown. Think of all the times in your life when you felt suspended like this. After a relationship ended, and before the next connection revealed itself. After leaving a job, and before the new calling emerged. After an identity collapsed, and before the new self began to glow from the ashes. In those moments, you were never actually lost. You were between identities, between timelines, between versions of yourself. The in-between is like the space between breaths. The inhale has ended, but the exhale has not yet begun. That pause, that stillness, is not emptiness. It is full of infinite potential. And yet, I know it can feel unbearable. You might ask yourself, who am I without the old labels? What do I do when the goals that once drove me now feel hollow? Where do I belong when the people around me no longer mirror the truth of who I am becoming? These questions arise not to torment you, but to guide you. They arise because your consciousness has already stepped into a higher octave, even while your body and your habits are still catching up. And so, the dissonance you feel, the gap, the confusion, the ache is simply the echo of two worlds overlapping. You are not failing. You are between frequencies. And the in-between is not a punishment. It is initiation. When shamans, mystics, or wisdom keepers speak of death and rebirth, this is the territory they mean. Not literal death, but the death of an identity. Not just physical rebirth, but the rebirth of perception. Your nervous system, accustomed to the density of the old reality, may interpret this as danger. It will whisper, "Go back, rebuild the old, find stability in the familiar." But your soul whispers louder, "Keep going, something greater is forming." And here's the paradox. The more you resist the in-between, the more chaotic it feels. But when you surrender, when you allow yourself to rest inside it, the chaos becomes order, the darkness becomes womb, the void becomes fertile. So let us name it clearly. You are not stuck. You are not broken. You are in the in-between. And once you give this place a name, it shifts from being a terrifying abyss into a sacred chamber of creation. Because the in-between is not nothingness. It is gestation. It is the cosmic chrysalis. Think of the caterpillar dissolving inside its cocoon. If you could peer inside, you would not see a half-formed butterfly. You would see soup cells breaking down, structures collapsing. And yet, inside that soup, imaginal cells are awakening. They carry the code of wings, of flight, of a new destiny. That's where you are. Not broken down, but dissolving into potential. Not stuck in a void, but dissolving so something miraculous can reorganize itself through you. And the greatest gift you can give yourself right now is recognition. Recognition that this is not an error in your path, this is the path. Recognition that the in-between is the bridge between who you were and who you are becoming. Feel the power in that. You are not lost. You are between worlds. And from this place we can begin to understand why quantum physics, the very science that describes reality, at its most fundamental level, gives us such perfect metaphors for what you are experiencing. Because just as you stand between identities, particles too exist between possibilities. Just as you are dissolving into potential, the universe itself lives suspended in infinite options before collapsing into form. That is where we'll go next. Because when you understand the quantum metaphor, the strange terrain you are walking through will stop feeling like chaos and start feeling like pure creation. Let's step into the quantum world for a moment. There is a principle in quantum physics called superposition. It describes how a particle doesn't exist in just one state, but in all possible states at once until it is observed, until it collapses into form. Think about that. A single particle can be everywhere, doing everything, simultaneously, not yet fixed, not yet decided, suspended in a shimmering field of possibility. Doesn't that sound like where you are? Right now, you are in your own state of superposition. The old identity has dissolved, but the new one hasn't crystallized. You are not just one thing, you are many possibilities, coexisting in the invisible. Your soul is holding all the future versions of you, all the timelines, all the choices like glowing threads of light waiting for resonance, waiting for the moment you breathe, align, and observe yourself into one of them. And just like the quantum particle, the field responds not to panic, not to fear, not to rushing, but to observation, to presence, to the quality of awareness you bring to this very moment. This is why the in-between feels so strange. Because your human mind wants certainty. It wants to choose, to label, to lock down one clear form. But your higher consciousness knows that choosing too soon is like collapsing a wave before it has fully expressed itself. The superposition is sacred. It's the space where infinite versions of you are hovering, waiting for your awareness to attune to the one that feels most alive. So, let's translate that into your own life. Perhaps you feel torn right now between old patterns and new desires, between staying where you are and leaping into the unknown, between holding on to who you've been and surrendering to who you're becoming. From the quantum perspective, that tension is not failure, it is potential. It means you are holding multiple realities within your field. One version of you is still bound to the old. Another version of you has already leapt. Another is walking calmly into alignment. Another is already embodying joy, flow, purpose. They are all real. They are all here. And they are all you. This is what makes your discomfort feel so sharp right now. You are stretching across timelines, tasting multiple possibilities at once. Your nervous system hasn't yet caught up with the vastness of what you're holding. But here is the key. You don't have to force yourself to choose right now. Your only task is to observe with compassion, to witness yourself without judgment, to breathe into the in-between with the awareness that you are not limited, you are superposed. And in that awareness, a subtle shift happens. Your discomfort becomes less like chaos and more like electricity. You begin to sense that the strange in-betweenness is not emptiness, it is fullness. Superposition is not confusion. Superposition is abundance of possibility. When you remember this, you can begin to soften, to let go of the idea that you must have it all figured out, to stop demanding that the new version of you arrive on your timeline, in your control. Instead, you allow, you breathe, you watch as the field responds to your quality of presence, not your frantic grasping, because in truth, you don't have to make the next version of yourself happen. It is already happening. You are already vibrating across multiple futures, and the one most resonant with your soul will naturally emerge as you learn to rest in the field of possibility. So take a deep breath, exhale slowly, and let yourself feel it. You are in superposition. You are suspended between what has been and what will be. And that means every option, every reality, every self is open to you. The unease you feel is not collapse. It is expansion. It is your nervous system trying to interpret the immensity of possibility that your soul is already holding. And what if just for a moment you stopped labeling it as fear? What if you started labeling it as proof that you are limitless? Because the truth is, you are not stuck. You are standing in the richest field of potential you may ever encounter. Superposition is where your future wings are forming. Superposition is where your highest self is whispering. Wait, breathe, witness, allow. And soon, very soon, the wave will collapse. A new version of you will step forward, clearer and more aligned than you can imagine. But before that collapse, there is a gift. The gift of remembering that you are not just an observer of reality. You are the one shaping the field by the quality of your awareness. And when you can reframe discomfort, when you can see the unease not as failure but as calibration, you will discover that the in-between is the most fertile ground of all. Let me invite you into a shift, a reframe so simple, yet so radical, that it can transform the way you experience this very moment. What if the discomfort you feel is not evidence that something is wrong, but proof that something is working? What if every pang of unease, every restless night, every flicker of self-doubt is not a breakdown, but a breakthrough in disguise? Pause and let that sink in. You see, most of us have been conditioned to interpret discomfort as danger. We've been trained to believe that if we feel unsettled, uncertain, or stretched beyond our capacity, then something has gone off track. But here's the paradox. True transformation is never comfortable. Think about it. The seed must crack open before the sprout can emerge. The caterpillar must dissolve before the butterfly can fly. The night sky must darken before dawn can break. Discomfort is not the enemy. Discomfort is the birth cry of evolution. When your soul calls you into a higher frequency, your nervous system doesn't immediately recognize it as safe. It trembles, it resists, it protests. And yet, beneath that trembling, something deeper is aligning. This is why the unease you feel right now is not random. It is the sound of your inner architecture rearranging itself. It is the hum of your cells recalibrating to a new vibration. You are not unraveling. You are repatterning. You are not collapsing. You are recalibrating. You are not failing. You are awakening. And the very intensity of the discomfort is evidence of how profoundly you are shifting. Imagine a musician tuning a string. At first, the sound is dissonant, jarring, incomplete. But with each turn, the vibration aligns more closely with harmony. That moment of tension is not a mistake, it is the pathway to music. That's what your life is doing right now. The tension, the uncertainty, the ache, they are all the vibrations of your being coming into tune with a new reality. So instead of asking, how do I get rid of this discomfort? You begin to ask, what is this discomfort teaching me? What is it tuning me for? And here is the short, powerful truth I want you to carry in your bones. Discomfort is not collapse. Discomfort is confirmation. Confirmation that the old frequency is no longer a match. Confirmation that your body, your mind, your energy field are preparing for resonance with something higher. Confirmation that you are in motion, even when it feels like you're standing still. Take a breath and feel that shift. Let it settle not just in your mind, but in your body. Because the moment you stop fighting discomfort, when you stop labeling it as wrong, something miraculous happens. The tension softens, the ache loosens its grip, the fear dissolves into presence. You realize that you don't have to be rescued from the in-between. You are not stranded here. You are being carried, stretched, expanded. And the discomfort is not a punishment, it's a compass. It's pointing you to the very edge of who you've been, so you can step into who you are becoming. So the next time your chest tightens, or your mind spirals, or your path feels foggy, whisper this to yourself. This is not the end. This is the recalibration. This is my becoming. It's such a subtle shift, but it changes everything. Because once you reframe discomfort, you stop running from it. You stop resisting the void, and you begin to meet it with curiosity, with breath, with compassion. And in that meeting, in that willingness to stand still in the fire without labeling it as destruction, you begin to discover the deeper current that has been guiding you all along. The discomfort is not here to destroy you. It's here to reveal you, to pull back the layers of what no longer resonates, to shake loose the identities you've outgrown, to prepare the ground for the next version of your being to take root. So breathe into that. Feel the alchemy happening inside your own heart. You are not the same person you were yesterday, and tomorrow, you will not be the same person you are today. That's not instability, that's evolution. And now that you've reframed discomfort, we can step even deeper into the journey. Because once you see that unease is confirmation, the next step is learning how to meet it, not with force, not with resistance, but with soft, steady guidance. Because the truth is, your evolution doesn't need to be forced. It needs to be allowed. And that's where we're heading next. Now that you've reframed discomfort, let's talk about how to walk through it. Not with force, not with striving, but with gentleness, with presence, with the kind of soft guidance that allows your transformation to unfold like a river finding its own path. Because here's the truth. You cannot fix your way into awakening. You cannot hustle your way into alignment. You cannot bully your soul into expansion. But you can breathe. You can soften. You can attune. And that is enough. So let's begin with the simplest, most powerful act. Breathe. Right now, as you listen, feel your breath deepen. Inhale slowly, as if you're drawing light into your chest. Hold for a moment, then exhale gently, as if you're releasing every fragment of old frequency that no longer serves. With each breath, you are not just moving air, you are harmonizing your field. You are teaching your body that it is safe to expand. You are reminding your nervous system that discomfort is not danger, it is transformation. Notice how just 3 slow breaths can shift your state. That is the essence of soft guidance. The next step, attune. Instead of asking, "What should I do?" try asking, "What am I being invited to notice right now?" Attunement is the art of listening. Listening not just with your ears, but with your entire body. Listening to the subtle hum beneath your thoughts. Listening to the wisdom pulsing in your chest. Listening to the way your energy rises or falls when you imagine one choice versus another. Attunement doesn't rush. It waits. It leans into the silence, trusting that the field is already whispering its guidance. And then, witness. Witness yourself without judgment. Watch your emotions rise and fall like waves without needing to control them. Observe your thoughts without wrestling them into submission. Become the compassionate presence that sits quietly in the center of the storm. When you witness, you dissolve the illusion that you are trapped in chaos. You realize that you are bigger than the discomfort, bigger than the confusion, bigger than the in-between. You are the field itself, the awareness in which all of it is unfolding. And finally, allow. Allow yourself to not have the answers. Allow yourself to not know who you're becoming. Allow yourself to rest in the unformed, unshaped potential of the in-between. This is the opposite of what the mind wants. The mind wants control, it wants certainty, it wants action, but your soul thrives in surrender. Your soul knows that by allowing, you give space for the field to shape you in ways your intellect could never orchestrate. So here is a gentle practice you can carry into your days. 1. Breathe. 3 slow, conscious breaths whenever discomfort rises. 2. Attune. Ask, what is the field showing me right now? 3. Witness. Watch without judgment, as if you are the sky watching the weather pass. 4. Allow. Let the mystery be mystery, trusting that clarity is already forming beneath the surface. Simple, subtle, yet profoundly powerful. Because when you approach your transformation with softness, you stop creating friction. You stop turning your discomfort into resistance. Instead, you allow the current of your becoming to carry you. Imagine yourself as a leaf resting gently on a river. The river doesn't need your struggle. It knows where it's going. It knows how to carry you into the ocean of your next self. All you have to do is float. This is why so many spiritual traditions speak of surrender, not as giving up, but as opening up. Not as passivity, but as partnership with a force far larger than your mind. And the paradox is this: the softer you become, the stronger you feel. Because softness isn't weakness. Softness is alignment. It is the recognition that your power does not come from forcing reality into shape. It comes from harmonizing with the field that is already shaping itself through you. So the next time your chest tightens with uncertainty, or your mind spins with doubt, whisper to yourself, breathe, attune, witness, allow. These are not small actions. They are portals. Portals that shift you from resistance into resonance, from panic into presence, from collapse into creation. And as you walk this gentle path, something miraculous begins to happen. You realize that you are not merely navigating change. You are embodying it. You are not surviving the in-between. You are becoming the bridge. And from this space of softness, we can deepen the journey even further. Because the quantum field offers us yet another mirror, another metaphor, to understand the mystery of transformation. A metaphor that will remind you that you are not dissolving, you are reorganizing. Not unraveling, you are repatterning. And that's exactly where we'll go next. We've explored superposition, the state of being many possibilities at once. Now, let's take one step deeper into the quantum mystery and bring in another principle, decoherence. In physics, decoherence is the moment when a quantum system, once free and fluid in its infinite possibilities, begins to interact with its environment. And through that interaction, the wave of possibility collapses into a particular outcome. What was once everywhere becomes somewhere. What was once potential becomes actual. What was once a shimmering cloud of maybes becomes a solid this. Can you feel how this echoes your own transformation? You, too, have been hovering in superposition, holding countless versions of who you could become. And yet, at some point, through interaction, through resonance, through alignment with your environment, one of those possibilities begins to crystallize. That moment when the field chooses, when the invisible becomes visible, is your decoherence. But here's the key. Decoherence is not random. It responds to resonance. It responds to coherence within you. The field is always listening to the vibration of your awareness, and it begins to reflect that vibration into form. This is why your discomfort, your uncertainty, your ache in the in-between is not wasted. It is the pressure that forces alignment. It is the hum that eventually clicks into harmony. And when it does, the version of you that has been waiting in potential collapses into being. Decoherence is your moment of embodiment. It is when the dream stops being a mist in your imagination and begins to walk with you in the physical. It is when the next chapter of your identity ceases to be abstract and becomes undeniable. Think of all the times this has happened before, when you lingered in confusion for months, and then suddenly clarity struck like lightning, when you wrestled with indecision, until one day the choice became obvious and irreversible, when you felt lost in the void, and then woke up one morning with a sense of new direction so clear it felt inevitable. That's decoherence, the invisible field, collapsing into the visible. Now, here's the paradox. Most people rush this process. They panic in the in-between, and in their desperation for certainty, they collapse the wave prematurely. They force decisions that aren't ready, align with timelines that don't truly resonate, and then wonder why their reality feels dissonant. But when you honor the process, when you breathe, attune, witness, and allow, you create coherence within yourself. And that coherence ripples outward into the field. The field feels your steadiness. It senses your resonance. And in response, it begins to stabilize around you. This is why your internal state is not just personal, it is environmental. It interacts with the field in the same way a quantum particle does. And as your vibration aligns, the outcome that matches that vibration naturally collapses into form. So let me say this clearly. You don't need to chase your next self. You don't need to force your reality into shape. Your only task is to cultivate coherence inside yourself. Coherence of thought, coherence of emotion, coherence of presence. And the field will respond. It has no choice, it is wired to mirror coherence. This is the essence of manifestation, but deeper than the surface-level teachings. It's not about thinking positively or scripting outcomes. It's about becoming resonant, so resonant that the field cannot help but collapse into alignment with you. So the next time you feel disoriented, remember, you are not unraveling. You are approaching decoherence. You are nearing the moment when the haze of possibility sharpens into clarity, when the potential self you've been carrying finally steps onto the stage of your life. And here's the beauty. When it arrives, it will not feel forced. It will not feel manufactured. It will feel inevitable, as if it was always waiting, always written, always yours. Because in truth, it was. Decoherence is not about creating something from nothing. It is about allowing the version of you that already exists in the field to finally stabilize into visibility. So let the metaphor sink into you. You are the quantum field. You are the particle and the wave. You are the one shimmering in infinite potential, and you are the one who collapses into form. And right now, even as you listen, you are on the edge of decoherence, on the edge of a new version of you stabilizing into reality. That's why the discomfort has felt so sharp. That's why the void has felt so unbearable. Because you are not dissolving into nothing, you are reorganizing into coherence. And coherence is what births clarity. Coherence is what births embodiment. Coherence is what births the inevitable moment when you realize, this is who I've become. From here, we can take the next step. Because once you understand decoherence, you can reframe your seeming setbacks. You can begin to see that what felt like regression, those moments when you think you're going backward, are actually the very movements that bring you into greater resonance. And that is the reframe we'll enter next. Let's look closer at those moments when you swear you've lost all progress. You know the ones. The days when your energy drops, and you feel like you're back where you started. The nights when doubt is so heavy, it erases the clarity you touched just days ago. The cycles that seem to repeat old patterns, old fears, old triggers resurfacing. The mind says, I'm going backward, I'm failing, I've undone everything. But pause, breathe, look deeper. What if those moments are not regression, but recalibration? What if what looks like collapse is actually integration? Here's the truth. Growth is not a straight line. It is a spiral. You circle back, again and again, to the same themes. But each time you return, you meet them at a higher octave. Think of climbing a spiral staircase. From above, it may look like you're passing the same point again and again, but in reality, you're ascending. Each loop brings you higher. Each return carries more wisdom, more strength, more awareness. So when the old fears resurface, when the same doubts whisper, when the same wounds ache, don't mistake it for failure. Recognize it as a spiral. Recognize that you are revisiting the same terrain, but with a different frequency. This is not regression. This is refinement. And often, the very intensity of what you feel is evidence that you are nearing coherence. Because as your field reorganizes, everything that is not aligned must rise up to be seen, to be felt, to be released. Think of it like a deep cleanse. The toxins don't vanish quietly, they surface, they stir, they make themselves known, and only then can they leave. So when your life feels turbulent, when the ground shakes beneath you, it doesn't mean you are losing alignment. It means the incoherence is leaving your field, so coherence can stabilize. That's why it feels like regression, because your old patterns are not gone, they are being witnessed at their loudest, their rawest, their final expression before they dissolve. In truth, those backward steps are proof of your forward motion. They are the final contractions before birth. You are not sliding back, you are spiraling forward. Feel the shift in that. Instead of saying, "Why am I here again?" begin to say, "I am meeting this again, but from a higher octave." Also, instead of saying, "I thought I healed this," whisper, "I am healing this more deeply now." Instead of saying, "I've undone all my progress," affirm, "This is the refinement that makes me unshakable." Regression is an illusion. Progress is happening beneath the surface. Integration is what looks like chaos. So let's reframe once more. In one short, powerful truth, what feels like regression is evidence of evolution. Every spiral back is an opportunity to embody the lesson with greater clarity, greater coherence, greater love. Every resurfacing of pain is an initiation into deeper wisdom. Every wobble is your field weaving itself into greater stability. And the beauty of this? Once you see it, you stop fighting it. You stop condemning yourself for being back here again. You stop tightening into shame, and instead soften into presence. Because the truth is, shame keeps you stuck, but presence sets you free. Presence says, here it is again. Let me meet it with compassion this time. Let me breathe with it instead of against it. Let me spiral upward through it. And that's how progress really unfolds, not in a perfect straight line, but in spirals of expansion. So if you are feeling like you've slipped backward, let this be your reminder. You have not lost anything. You are integrating. You are refining. You are ascending the spiral, step by step, octave by octave. The in-between is not just where you dissolve, it's where you refine. And refinement is the essence of coherence. So instead of resisting the spiral, honor it. Honor the fact that you are meeting old terrain with new eyes, new awareness, new strength. This is not regression. This is ascension in disguise. And from this reframe, you can begin to live differently. You can stop punishing yourself for your process. You can stop demanding that evolution be linear. You can soften into the spiral, trusting that even when it feels like you're circling back, you are climbing higher. And when you soften like this, the next layer of guidance can land. Because if regression is an illusion, then your job is not to push harder, force more, or hustle your way out of the spiral. Your job is to do the opposite, to stop forcing, to stop fixing, to stop scrambling for control, and instead to cultivate stillness, presence, and alignment. That is the soft guidance waiting in the next step of our journey. Now that you see the spiral for what it is, not regression, but refinement, let's speak about how to move through it with grace. Because here is where many seekers get trapped. They feel the spiral. They feel the old wounds surfacing, the discomfort rising, the uncertainty thick in the air. And instead of softening, they tighten. Instead of trusting, they force. Instead of listening, they scramble to fix. But the truth is, you cannot push your way through an awakening. You cannot hustle your way into alignment. And you certainly cannot fix your way into wholeness because you were never broken to begin with. So let's get clear about what not to do. Do not force. Do not hustle. Do not try to patch over the void with busyness or endless solutions. Every time you force, you signal to your field that you don't trust it. Every time you hustle, you step out of resonance and into desperation. Every time you fix, you reinforce the illusion that you are incomplete. This doesn't mean you do nothing, but it does mean you shift the quality of your action. Instead of forcing, you cultivate stillness. Stillness is not stagnation. Stillness is the fertile pause that allows your field to recalibrate. When you sit in stillness, you are like a tuning fork resting in silence, waiting for the universe to strike the perfect note. Instead of hustling, you practice presence. Presence doesn't mean you abandon your goals. It means you bring your full awareness into this breath, this moment, this heartbeat. Presence is where clarity arises naturally, without being wrestled out of the fog. Instead of fixing, you allow alignment. Alignment doesn't mean perfection. It means gently leaning into what resonates and stepping back from what does not. It means letting the field shape you, rather than trying to carve yourself into someone else's idea of progress. So let me give you a simple framework. 1. Stillness. Each day, carve even a few minutes to sit quietly, without agenda. No fixing, no planning, no forcing. Simply breathe and let your nervous system remember that safety comes from within. 2. Presence. When your mind begins to spiral into what-ifs or shoulds, bring your awareness back to your senses. Notice the texture of the air, the sound in the distance, the rhythm of your breath. Anchor yourself in the now, where possibility is alive. 3. Alignment. Begin to notice what feels light and what feels heavy. Move gently toward the lightness. Step softly away from the heaviness. This is not about dramatic action, it's about micro adjustments that keep your field coherent. With these 3 practices, stillness, presence, and alignment, you create a field of trust. And in that trust, the field responds. It begins to stabilize. It begins to reflect clarity. It begins to whisper your next steps with unmistakable resonance. Think of it like standing in front of a pond. If you thrash your hands in the water, the ripples distort the reflection. You cannot see clearly. But if you stand still, if you let the surface smooth, the reflection returns in perfect clarity. Your life works the same way. The more you thrash, the more distorted it feels. The more you still, the clearer it becomes. And so, the invitation is not to do more, but to be differently, to stop scrambling for certainty, and instead embody the resonance of trust. Because here's the deeper truth. The field is already organizing around you. Your new reality is already forming. Your decoherence is already approaching. Your spiral is already ascending. The question is not, how do I make it happen? The question is, how do I allow it to happen through me? This is why softness is so powerful. Softness doesn't resist. Softness doesn't distort. Softness allows the field to do what it does best, mirror you into coherence. So the next time you feel yourself hustling, pushing, or fixing, pause, place a hand on your heart, breathe, whisper to yourself, I don't need to force, I don't need to fix, I only need to allow, and feel the relief that brings. Because when you stop fighting the spiral, when you stop resisting the in-between, you begin to sense the deeper current carrying you forward. And that current is not chaotic, it is intelligent. It knows where it's going. It knows how to bring you into the new frequency. Stillness, presence, alignment. These are not passive states. They are the most potent forms of action you can take. They signal to the universe that you trust. They align your field into coherence. And from that coherence, the inevitable leap begins to gather momentum. And that brings us to the climax of this journey. Because when you allow instead of force, when you trust instead of fix, you begin to feel it. The surge of energy rising beneath the surface, the momentum building, the leap preparing, not collapse, not regression, but the unmistakable pulse of breakthrough. That's where we're going next. Take a deep breath with me now. Inhale fully, hold it for a moment, and exhale slowly. Because this right here, right now, is the turning point. Everything we've walked through together has led you to this realization. You are not unraveling. You are gathering. You are not collapsing. You are converging. Every moment of discomfort, every spiral, every pause in the in-between has been momentum disguised as stillness. Think about the bowstring of an archer. At first, the pull feels like tension, like resistance. The string stretches back, further and further, until it trembles. And then, with one release, that very tension becomes flight. That's you. The tension you've been feeling is not pulling you apart, it's pulling you into alignment. The stretching of your being has been preparing you for velocity. The ache in your chest has been winding you up for breakthrough. And now you are standing in the moment, just before release. Can you feel it? That subtle hum in your body? That electric buzz in your field? It is not fear. It is not instability. It is momentum. It is life rearranging itself around you, in anticipation of your leap. You have not been drifting. You have been charging. You have not been dissolving. You have been crystallizing. You have not been falling apart. You have been gathering the exact strands of coherence required for what comes next. This is the truth of transformation. It always feels like unraveling until the new pattern emerges. It always feels like chaos until the coherence lands. But in hindsight, you will see that none of it was wasted. Every moment of darkness was fuel. Every pause in the void was preparation. Every spiral was ascent. You are not behind. You are right on time. And the leap that is coming, the leap into your next self, your next reality, your next frequency, is not small. It is not subtle. It is monumental. Because the momentum you've been gathering is not just personal, it's quantum. The field has been watching you, responding to you, aligning around your frequency. And now, as you stand at this threshold, the field is ready to mirror back to you the truth you've been embodying in silence. That you are not merely an observer of reality, but the very pulse of reality itself. So let this land in your heart. You are not powerless. You are not waiting for life to happen to you. You are the field. You are the resonance. You are the coherence that reality bends toward. And when you finally leap, when the bowstring releases, when the wave collapses, when decoherence stabilizes, your reality will shift not because you forced it, but because you became it. You became the new frequency. You became the new timeline. You became the very alignment that the field could not help but mirror. So here's the invitation. Stop fearing the leap. Stop worrying about whether you'll make it, whether you'll land, whether the wings will hold. Because the truth is, you've already leapt. The moment you entered the in-between, the moment you surrendered to the spiral, the moment you stopped fixing and started allowing you crossed the threshold. The leap has already happened. You are simply catching up to it in time. And the universe, this vast, intelligent, shimmering field is carrying you. You don't need to manufacture the wind beneath your wings. It's already there. You only need to spread them. So rise, step, allow. Feel the momentum beneath your feet. Feel the current at your back. Feel the truth in your bones. You are not unraveling. You are ascending. And the very field that you once thought you were observing has been observing you back, mirroring you, responding to you, shaping itself around you. You are not separate from reality. You are reality. You are the field. And this is your moment of flight. Take one more breath. Let it fill you slowly. Hold it and release. As the air leaves your lungs, feel the truth settle inside you. You've already stepped into the new frequency. You are not waiting for it. It is already alive within you. Every doubt, every spiral, every moment of stillness has been the bridge to here. And here is enough. Here is holy. Here is the doorway to everything you've been calling in. You don't need to chase. You don't need to force. You don't need to fix. Because the leap has already been made. You are standing in it now. Remember this. You are not just observing reality from the outside. You are the field itself, the living, breathing consciousness that shapes, bends, and reflects. Reality is not indifferent. It responds to you. It mirrors you. It meets you as you meet yourself. And so, from this moment forward, walk gently. Walk with the awareness that every breath is creative, every thought is formative, every vibration is a seed dropped into the fertile soil of the field. You don't have to see the entire path. You don't have to understand every mystery. All you have to do is trust the hum of coherence building in your chest. Trust the current carrying you. Trust that the field knows, because you are not lost. You are found in the resonance of your own becoming. You are not collapsing. You are gathering into the leap that has already begun. So whisper this with me now, as a closing affirmation. I have already stepped into the new frequency. I am not separate from the field, I am the field. And life itself is rising to meet me. Let those words ripple through your body. Let them echo in your cells. Let them become the frequency you walk with into tomorrow. And when you are ready, when your heart feels called, take the next step on this journey with me. You'll find a link below to a free guide that expands on these teachings, offering practices to help you deepen into stillness, presence, and alignment. Or if you'd like, join me in the next video where we explore how to embody your new frequency in daily life. There is no rush, no pressure, only resonance. For now, trust this. You are already in the new. You are already coherence embodied. And the universe is already whispering back to you, welcome home.